Okay, hi everyone. So I just wanted to go over briefly. I know this isn't due yet, but just to give you some notes on helping you to go through your final project for the course. Like I said, this will be our very final project that's due during after the 7 week period ends when you have advising days and we're in those final exam period. So what you want to do is click on this. This is in your week 6 prompt for this week. It's just a page. I didn't put any of the formal due dates up yet. Those will be up and integrated into the modules because of course everything is submitted on Canvas. So this should give you a pop-up here with a Microsoft Word document, and I'm just going to take you through the basics of it. I want you to digest it and of course think about it a little bit more, and then we'll each get together with me and I can give you some more specific guidance on it as you're thinking of your own ideas. So what we're going to do is make our own Women Writers of New England anthology collection. So your whole paper will be 10 to 12 pages. Please don't panic over that amount. That's actually a lot of other things that go into that. It's not 10 to 12 full pages of just written prose or anything like that. There's a lot of ways you can incorporate digital images or other sources in here, outside citations, etc. There is no other final or test for this class. This is the final project. So your first due date sort of to think about is October 6th, 7th, which is still some time away. But thinking about your topic ideas, your check-in with me, maybe you even have an outline or a draft at that point of what you want to kind of put together. And your final anthology will be submitted on October 19th to Canvas because your grades are due on the 21st. So I just want to make sure I have enough time to go through everybody's and give feedback on that. So you'll be creating your own anthology of selections based on your criteria for the class. This is your opportunity to create a Women Writers of New England anthology. It's a compilation of readings, it could be essays, information on writers, all of these things from writers both past and present, from artifacts, from, those things of the past up until 2020 if you really want it to, and however you deem fit for analysis. So you can organize your anthology by a certain theme that you might want if you found that prevalent in the course. For example, perhaps you might want to do a theme on motherhood, or somebody might want to do a New England women writers theme of nature. Again, these are very broad. Or you might want to do a theme of how, like the land plays a role, or you could do a theme of how friendship plays a role, or something of that sort. So you get the idea. You can really tie it together with a certain theme if you want. You don't have to. Like I said, it could be thematic, it could be another geographical way. Perhaps you really wanted to focus on certain New England women writers from one state. You can tie in several other themes together. Think of especially how Dawnland Voices is composed. Dawnland Voices is an anthology. You've got a big collection of writings submitted in all different types of styles that are put together for us to read. And independent of these, you also get information on the authors. You get a little information on their background, where they're from. And so this is a great example of how you have many writers, past and present, brought together. I said this at the beginning of the semester. Presently, there's no anthology that exists of just New England American women writers. So this would be really cool if you can come up with some ideas or some topics or things like that to put together. So what should your anthology have in it? You'll have at least 4 to 6 selections of your choice. Obviously, if you'd like to do any more, you can earn bonus points. Now, these selections can be essays, poems, prose, journalism, commentary, interviews, etc. You can look at our readings from the class. If you think there's 1 or 2 that might fit in with your anthology, you can use them. I would say try only to use 1 or 2 from what we've looked at. The point is for you to also find other types of writings. If You're welcome to say for example, a lot of you really enjoyed Anne Sexton's poetry this week. We only looked at 2 poems, so you can certainly use Anne Sexton again, but I would encourage you to use other pieces that she's wrote. That's all. So you can certainly use some of the same authors, just maybe find some other works by them if you want to, or limit the ones that we already read together, so it's not seeming super repetitive like that. So whoever your theme, whoever your choices are is up to you. Everything obviously is submitted electronically. So this means that you have the ability to hyperlink and include pictures and video and to make your anthology as interactive as possible. You can include links to Twitter. You can even create a Twitter page for a subject or a page, use Tumblr, use Pinterest, Padlet, Flipgrid, however you want to also display your anthology along with your analysis. So, I mean, you're all very, very creative. I'm happy to help you brainstorm that, but know that like you have a ton of space here for bringing in different digital parts. I will post a couple examples of anthologies so you can, I would say one of the best, like I said, is looking at how your book is modeled or how other story collections are set up. If you've taken other English classes before, you can think of how Norton anthologies are kind of composed together in a way. It doesn't matter. You do not have to include full copies of the reading unless you want to. Say maybe you're looking at a really short poem, then you might include that. You can assume that if you're talking about an essay or if you're talking about a longer piece of prose, that the readers will be able to access that. You can even post a link to the full amount if you want. But of course, in your analysis of it, and why it's important, you'd want to reference certain lines or certain passages because that'll be really important. What you'll make a little introduction to the anthology, just kind of like our book had. And in these few pages, you'll say what, your anthology is about, if there's themes, how you went about selecting the certain criteria and the entries, and how each maybe contributes, how each author contributes to the anthology's theme or overall kind of thesis that you put together. If you think about how anthologies are structured or even just how a general book is arranged, you have introductions to each section, you have a brief introduction to the author. So your goal is not only to just introduce and analyze the pieces, but also to connect them. You don't want to just drop in 4 authors and be like, hey, these looked really nice. I hope they kind of go together. You want some sort of thread to kind of align them. Aside from the fact that they're all New England women writers. You can definitely include authors we didn't get to cover during the semester. There's many other women in Donlan Voices. There's so many other writers who are from New England that, we didn't get to cover, but I know that, I'm happy to help you with a listing, or you can Google a little bit more if you're interested. So once you pick and say you want to write about, you picked another poem by Anne Sexton, you'll introduce her, you'll introduce that poem, you might give us some digital links, some pictures, some information, some visuals, and then you'll want to talk about why you picked that and why you're analyzing it as part of New England American women writers for an anthology series. You would want to break down parts of the poem. You would want to cite significant passages or themes in there. So each entry that you do, if you're, incorporating here about 4 to 6 authors, will be, a few pages each, maybe 2 to 3 pages each that you're talking about them, maybe a little bit longer depending on, how involved their work is. Maybe one of them turns out to be shorter. For example, this week we're briefly looking at Rachel Carson. To read the entirety of Silent Spring would be really, really long. So maybe you only pick a chapter of something that you're looking at, and that's also okay too. However, I do want you to bring in some outside sources outside of your books. Think about using places like the Poetry Foundation. Think about some of these other critical essays. I've tried to give some resources for each author each week to help you with your analysis as well. Your text of choice can be a variety of authors. I would say try to use a few different authors to diversify your collection. I like I said, I put 10 to 12 pages on here. Obviously, that doesn't include pages like your table of contents or a title page or anything like that. But please make sure like at the end you go and have like a nice table of contents and a great title to your anthology. You'll have your analysis, which is your breakdown of the articles, the text, the authors that you include. Everything should be explained, cited, broken down, and where you bring in outside sources. I just use article, but article means any piece of writing, any piece of text. And then, of course, your introductions, how, you know, your introduction to your anthology should explain how it fits in there. You also wouldn't have some biographical information integrated, like I said, on the authors, or maybe something helpful with publication. And this is where you can get really crafty and include pictures and different links. So maybe you want to organize your anthology similarly to how our book is, where it gives an author introduction and then goes into the analysis and the text. Maybe you want to do all the introductions at once and then go into all the analysis. That's entirely up to you to think how you might want to organize it. And at the very end, you want to have a works cited page. So the components of these 10 to 12 pages are, okay, I have a title of my anthology, and then I have a table of contents. And then after that, going into these 10 to 12 pages of analysis are your selections of who's in your anthology, what's in your anthology, why are they in here, and the breakdown of your selections that you picked, integrated with any other digital resources. So it seems like a lot, but anthologies are just such a great way to get a small sampling of so many different types of literature, writers, especially when we're focusing on a certain theme, region, place, people, events, etc. So read through this again. Please, 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 please make sure you listen to these notes when you're going through these notes here. Just jot down any questions that you have. Like I said, I'll be meeting with everyone to think how you're putting together your anthology, and I'd love to hear as many ideas as possible that you might have.